Well, a very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. Today is Thursday, August 21st of 2025. And on today's episode, we will be kind of getting everyone ready for the world of sports this coming up weekend. I know I still have a lot of stuff going on our channel. We'll talk about that here in a moment, but we'll cover baseball as you know the Reds took care of their business earlier this week up in Anaheim, California. They took 2-1 against the Angels. They're off today, traveling down to Phoenix, Arizona to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in a 3-game series. It's all part of their West Coast trip that will conclude next week in Los Angeles. And, I was just kind of thinking about that earlier this morning. And I came up with a question here I wanted to ask. And hopefully, if you guys are interested in answering, I'd love to hear what you guys would have to say. Head on over to our YouTube channel, TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, and find our video. It'll be marked with today's date, and let me know down in the comments. But the question I was thinking to myself is, if you whatever baseball team or team that you root for, do you prefer playing during a weekday or a weekend on the road against a good team like the Dodgers? Like I said, the Reds are going to be over in Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And for the Reds, who are on the outside looking in for a wild card position, they have to take on the Dodgers 3 more games this year. And, we know what the Dodgers could bring to the table, not just on the field, but their fan base is pretty tense. And, for a fan base like LA, you have, is it much, it's going to be packed, it's going to be crowded, but there is a difference, I still think, going to a game on a Monday, Tuesday night when people have to work, when school's in session, compared to going over a weekend. Now, living here and going to Great American Ballpark, there is a significant difference that you could tell compared to a city like San Diego or the Dodgers in LA or even in New York, right? Where out here at Great American Ballpark, because of school, because of the flux ratio and weather, because of work, you don't get a lot of people attending Cincinnati Red games. It's situational purposes. First of all, who are they playing? More people are going to attend a Yankees Reds game than a Marlins Reds game. Is it during the week? Is it over the weekend when you're off and you don't have school and you don't have work? Is there a promotional giveaway? I would love to go to every bobblehead doll giveaway or a jersey giveaway because it's something that you can collect as a fan. Win or lose, you're going to bring home something that you can put up on your mantle and say, hey, I've been to that game because look at what I got. Out here at Great American Ballpark on a Tuesday night, you may not even have no one up in the nosebleed seats. You're not even going to have a sellout behind home plate. It's just not that busy. But if you go out and you watch a Dodgers game or a Mets game or a Phillies game, it's crowded. And sure, there still is a difference. It's going to be more packed, more chaotic over a weekend compared to a weekday. And so, as a fan who, for the Reds who want the Reds to do good, we need a series win to help us out in the arguments of a postseason run. And we will see the Dodgers next week in LA, which is it's already a terrible place to go play at this time of year and how close we are. And we're not up to the Dodgers caliber of playing level. So there's a lot of nerves, and we could talk about that Monday. But that's my question. If you are going into, do you prefer playing a weekday or a weekend on the road against a good team like the Dodgers? So we will talk about baseball here in today's episode. We will get you ready for games to look out for around the league. Also, NFL preseason week number 3, the final week before the regular season gets underway. I know we're counting down the days where Cincinnati heads on over to Cleveland and takes on the Browns in week 1. I know we're excited, but we still have to get through this weekend. I was kind of going over the notes, reviewing the game. It doesn't look like Joe Burrow will be starting the game. I talked about this earlier this week. I actually haven't gotten a chance to talk about it. I got a chance to watch the Commanders and Bengals game on Monday Night Football, and I was actually pleased to see Joe Burrow stay out there for a quarter and a half and work with the second string guys. And I like that. I think that just shows integrity. I think it shows the reason why Joe Burrow is such a good quarterback and why we should be so appreciative that we have a quarterback that demands excellenceness. He's willing to take his time, go through a few series with the second string guys, because listen, injuries happen all the time, and as much as good as of a great 1-2 punch combo they have between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you need to have that same chemistry if possible with a guy like the gosh, I can't, Jones, for example. So you know I can tip my cap off to Joe Burrow for doing what he did last Monday, and the Bengals. Hey, the Bengals picked up a victory, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit as we get ready for the weekend. Do want to talk about some wrestling. We'll kick things off here in a moment with wrestling, but I want to take this moment at the beginning of the channel. If you haven't gotten a chance to, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It is growing thanks to different directions that we're taking. And one of the biggest directions that we are continuing on this channel is gaming. I know it doesn't quite fit that podcast criteria, but gaming has developed our channel and has grown our channel over the past years. And so keeping it around, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know where we're at right now. And where we're at right now is that we are in the full stretch of baseball season, trying to get all the baseball games published as much as possible. I got all that content played. I just got one more game to publish for this weekend. We got the preseason. I just wrapped up the preseason from last year's video game. I got that game kind of right now working on its importing. That will get published here hopefully later on this afternoon. So we've had a crazy week. We're expected in MLB The Show 25. We're expected to see the Dodgers and the Padres tomorrow night. And then on Sunday afternoon, we'll see the Reds and the Diamondbacks. Now, I chose these two games particularly because, one, I tried to, around this type of time of year, I'm trying to pick out selective games that have playoff implications to it. And so I know it may be a stray to what we post, and you have to follow what we post in order to understand where we are at. And I post standings each and every week. But the Dodgers and the Padres are far separated from where they're at, and even the Padres are on the outside of the playoffs looking in at the moment. in the game's franchise mode. But this also stir away from the other content that I've had going on this week. I don't want to overlap a lot of content, but so that's why we have selected this game. Same thing for the Reds and Diamondbacks. They're both fighting for a wild card opportunity, and I selected them. It's earlier in the afternoon, so we're not missing night 2 of WrestleMania. So everyone could kind of check out everything that I have going on the channel. So those are the 2 games that are still yet to be published this weekend. In our Madden 25, in our NFL Madden franchise series, in simulation games, we have, we had a doubleheader, which is, I think, already up and ready for tonight. We have the Dolphins and Buccaneers tonight kicking off at 7:30, followed by the 49ers and Raiders. And then we'll conclude the week 3 preseason with the Giants and Jets. Now, that is all played and simulated on the NFL Madden 25 video game. NFL Madden 26 recently came out. I can confirm that I purchased the game today, and I will be working on week 1 content. My goal is that there's just no way about it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the franchise series as the Cincinnati Bengals. What I'm going to do is take primetime games on Thursday, Friday, Sunday night, Monday night, and, let simulation play those games and publish them on top of what the Bengals play each and every week. I'm eager to get into the game because I want to see how the gameplay settings is set up. Because one of the new features this season is primetime additions to video games. Now, I don't know if that's only in franchise series mode or if that's in just regular gameplay. So we will have to, I'll get into it. I'll figure it out. One thing I was thinking about, if it was only in franchise mode, which is going to create a little bit more work for me, was to create another series, like another franchise for the team, for the home team that is playing on that primetime game, simulate forcing wins, through the original Bengals franchise series to get to that primetime edition. So it can be complicated. I don't know how I'm going to address it quite yet. There's a lot of factors in, and I ask for patience. I may not even do primetime, if they don't offer it. So we will see what happens there. But I am eager to get into the new game and to get the season rolling, which I'm hoping to begin content, at least for, at least to get ready, get ahead of the game, beginning next week. While I'm putting that on hold right now, we are in the middle of a very big wrestling week in our WWE 2K Universe mode. We've already done through Raw and NXT. I just got done playing taking care of SmackDown and main events content. And I'm working on NXT Stand and Delivers, WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2. So I'm moving right along. And my goal is to get everything out before Friday. And I know that's not a lot of time, but that is my ultimate goal. And I'm excited because there's a lot of great matches. I'm not, you guys could tune into the channel, tune into what you guys are expected to see. But a couple of things that I'm looking forward to seeing is you got the Roman Reigns versus The Rock in a Bloodline Rules match. You have Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. I just crowned earlier on Raw. On a previous episode of Raw, we had Becky Lynch taking on Jordynne Grace for the Women's United States Championship. We have the inaugural women's intercontinental championship being crowned this weekend. So there's a little bit of everything going on for entertainment. So that is all being completed as we speak, in progress, and that content should get up this weekend. So there's a lot going on our channel, and it continues beyond that. So stay tuned, and I will do my best to keep you guys up to date. If there's any other, things going on, that's why I'm also using this time on our channel, because I don't sit there and talk. I don't talk in between, in between, programs, or videos. AI, I let I create the videos and I let it go. There's no need to have chats and conversations and my points. I don't want to be a disruption. I want content to tell that story itself. And so I'm utilizing this podcast time as an opportunity for that. So a lot going on the channel. If you guys want to be a part of it, you guys want to share your comments, please feel free. I encourage, if you guys want to see a particular storyline, if you guys like something, I'm always up to, feedback. And I want to take that. I want to use that to my best of my ability. So excited for what's to come on the channel. Before we kind of get started here with the sports, the first topic I do want to address here today is going to be the news that we discovered earlier this week regarding Naomi, who recently won the Women's World Championship. She won by cashing in her money in a bank at Saturday Night Main Event right before SummerSlam. And she, was involved in a match between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. And she successfully cashed in and became champion. We learned earlier this week on Raw that she is currently pregnant, and that will leave her out of action for at least 9 months, maybe up to a year. And the ultimate solution is that there's uncertainty about her future. I'm gonna wear both sides of the pants in this one, and it's gonna sound contradicting. But I first and foremost want to just start off in congratulating Naomi and Jimmy Uso. For a father of 3 myself, I think having kids is a wonderful thing. I think it brings a whole new joy to life. It brings family together, and it strengthens a relationship. So, I will never talk low on someone who is pregnant and is giving birth, and bestowing a child. Like Naomi talked about it on Monday. It is, the bloodline era continues. And I think it's a special moment, and I think people should cherish it. On the other side of this announcement, I could only imagine what's being said inside the boardroom of storyline creations. Here is someone who definitely deserved a push, who definitely deserved to had been focused on attention. She goes through this feud with Jade Cargill. She wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. She cashes in successfully and becomes champion. And now this title run is, in full motion. And I'm now being, in the office and being told that, we're sticking. For me, it's the WWE is sticking their necks out and pushing you to be this image and be this face of a company and be the champion, and you're off to go get pregnant. And I know this sounds completely wrong, and I get it, but I can't help but imagine. I mean, sure, people, I'm excited for her, but it's one thing if you got injured. It's one thing if you got sick. You can't control those things so much because the world we live in, the sport that you are a profession at. So I get it. But what you do have control of if you get pregnant. There are steps that you can take to prevent a pregnancy. And I'm not trying to say that she should be preventing a pregnancy, but she's in a position of, in a place of her career where she's finally getting that attention that she deserves. She's getting that recognition. She's getting that trust from the WWE saying that, hey, we're going to put the title on you. You are going to have this championship storyline, and we are going to invest our time, our money, our resources. We are going to stop anyone else who should be progressing forward in their careers. I mean, look, we just saw a really good run with Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch, and Bayley. But guess what? They're down there building that women's intercontinental championship so that Naomi could have that spotlight as the women's world champion. And so I'm thinking on one side of the table, and I'm kind of almost disappointed in Naomi. You had the ability to control if you got pregnant or not. We give you this push, and this is how you repay us. Like I said, I wish the best. I'm excited for her. I think it is incredible. She isn't the only person or female who's done this. I think back on times like Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch went out to social media, said something negative about it. Naomi responds, said, hey, girl, you did the same thing like I just did. About what, 5, 6, 7 years ago? I'm glad that they're in a position, and if this means I get heat for saying that this is just a bad timing, well, guess what? It is a bad timing for your career. And unfortunately, look, I get she's established. People are gonna miss her. She's not gonna be forgotten when if she comes back in a year. People are gonna love her. I don't think you could keep a heel on her when she comes back 10, 12 months later. And I'm going to say that's an if, because, having a family, bringing a child into this world does change people's minds about their career path. But, WWE's moving on. And for the next 9 months, I can almost guarantee you that they're going to push somebody else. Storylines are going to change, and you don't know what you're going to walk into. As a company who is working their way back, from their, from the dog days, from, they almost, from their plague, okay, a couple years ago, WWE's making a comeback from their plague. They are pushing people in their storylines. And I will say this in wrestling: if it's important to be on TV each and every week, and people will move on quickly. If you're not there, you're not ready to go. You're not staying up to date. You're not staying fit. You're not, you're not in the ring wrestling. You're not, you cannot just come and go as you please. And I just. This is where the crossroads has. I want to finish this subject on a positive note. And like I said, I want to reiterate the gratitude that I have for the family of Naomi and Jimmy Uso, the bloodline, the ins and outs. And I want to just wish um, a long, healthy or fast, healthy, um, pregnancy. I want to wish the best of luck to everything and whatever the future holds. I'm excited and I can't wait for that new chapter to begin in their lives. So, congratulations to Naomi and Jimmy Uso with the breaking news that happened earlier this week on Raw. While we are on the conversation of WWE, something else kind of took precedent in the world of professional wrestling this week. As we learned earlier this summer, WWE and ESPN has come together in a deal where originally, starting in 2026, premium live events would be held through ESPN, which meant that in order to watch a PLE event, you would have to have a ESPN subscription. And that subscription would start at $29.99 per month. There were some, I guess, disagreements from the fans, and they sure expressed themselves, and very right to doing so. WWE went on this whole new dynamic when they created the WWE network. They made it available for all of us to watch a lot of content. And since then, they moved a lot and they have adapted to the streaming platforms over the years. Netflix, Raw is on Netflix now. PLE was on Peacock. Um, and so now we are seeing WWE take that next steps. And we're seeing them jump to a sports subscription. And look, it's good for business. Just imagine. I appreciate. I'm going to start. Let me start this way. I appreciate what WWE has done for us, the fans, to give us access to wrestling content throughout the years at an affordable price. $9.99 a month was not a bad deal. Buying Peacock at $6-7 a month was not a bad deal. On top of that, you got a chance to watch Sunday Night Football on NBC because NBC is provided on Peacock. You got to watch other sporting events as well as you got to watch whatever movies or TV shows Peacock's had to provide. So thank you for providing us an affordable subscription. But have we just lived under a rock this last 10 years? Inflation has grown over the years. We got through our pandemic, we're still kind of in the recessions. People are not financially out of what has taken place and has financially hurt us years ago. But unfortunately, life does move on. And the WWE, as much as they've given us an affordable price, they have to start looking at a business move through everywhere. And as they grow to become more of a global phenomenon, ESPN, I think, provides the best solution for that, at least at this time. Now, you may say, hey, $30 is pretty much a month. Sure, but what else can you get in ESPN? That's what I'm interested in learning. My question is that I actually have Hulu, the full package of Hulu. So it's Hulu TV that gets all the channels. And then you have the movies, and then you have Disney Plus, and then that ESPN bundle. Does premium live events included into that? And I'm just curious. Or do you have to pay something else on it? So I'd be interested in seeing exactly the intel. But as we learned earlier this week, that they're actually beginning that next month. So we're going to learn a lot sooner than later. because they're going to have on September 20th in Indianapolis PLE called WrestlePalooza. Interesting. WrestlePalooza. I don't know really much about it. I will do my research over the time, but I think that, look, as much as maybe fans are unsettled by how or what this provides, I think that, we're going to adapt or change to the times. It's unfortunate. Um, I'm not a big fan of subscriptions. Um, Call me classic. I prefer, I was not a big fan of when Raw went to Netflix, taking it away from a, streaming provider that you could watch SmackDown and, you could watch NXT. I felt like Raw, SmackDown, NXT should be provided under a, under a provider that provides a channel. Um, you know, and I understand the movement. I'm not settled in on what, I'm not just settled in on what to do. Now, I do have Netflix. I do have Peacock. Maybe when they stop putting in these PLEs on Peacock, I will stop my service on Peacock. It's going to lose a lot of business for sure. But, listen, at the end of the day, if you're a wrestling fan and you want to watch Survivor Series, you're going to find a way to watch it on ESPN, that subscription. And listen, I know I'm not the only one out here, you guys, who had a WWE network and then invited their friends because they didn't have that network, and you guys all watched it together. Um, I knew plenty of people who did that, and it probably saved them a ton of money, especially when with Netflix, with they shared accounts. They are, they have, invited friends over for free to watch it. And the dynamic is that, you wonder why WWE tickets are going up is because the product is getting better. If you had a good sports team, like the San Diego Padres, you can afford to raise up the prices of tickets because people are going to come watch your sports. But at the end of the day, if they're not, then things change, right? It's adaptation here. So, this is all going to be developing. And as we learn more about it, as we experience it ourselves for the first time, we will definitely share with you our experience, our positives, and our takes. I am interested in finding out a lot more, but be prepared, you guys. WWE is changing yet again. It's either we are there or we're not there. So, all right. Well, we're moving right along. Let's get right down into baseball, you guys. Look, all we can do as a Cincinnati Reds fan is support the team and what they do each and every series. And we hope that they could take care of their business and their focus on. And the only focus I want the Reds to be focusing on is winning each game. And you know what? You're not going to win each game. That's inevitable. We're not going to go on this 17 game winning streak like an Athletic or like Milwaukee. But capitalize. You play fundamental baseball to give yourself a chance to win ball games. You got to win games that you can win. And earlier this week, the Reds were over in the Halo City, Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels. They're not doing quite well. I think they're even 6.5 games out of the wild card spot in the American League. And I was a little bit skeptic and nervous with how the Reds did handle business at home last weekend against Milwaukee. But I'm glad that they were able to come back and take a series win. They beat the Reds the first 2 games, dropping the third one last night. Kept it by 1 run, but man, I tell you, you did your job. You took 2 of 3. Would have been great to go for a sweep, but hey, you won. They're headed out to Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, to begin a 3-game series against the D-backs. D-backs were 6 games back in the wild card into this one. And, I am I'm hoping that it carries on into Arizona. We took the 3 games uh, at Great American Ballpark when they came back in June. I think I even took the girls to the Sunday game when they swept when they won and they swept. I remember that. I remember it because it was part of my daughter's softball organization. They were doing a fundraising where proceeds to buying tickets to the Reds game, selected Reds game, went back to their softball league. And we went to a Sunday game. They faced the Diamondbacks. It rained halfway through. We sat up with the team. I didn't. What was great about it? We sat so high up in the nosebleeds that we didn't have to move when it downpoured. I'm like, thank goodness. But because it's crazy out there, I tell you. The weather just worked in our favor because we were able to get into the stadium. The girls were able to go to that little kid zone and hit the ball, run the bases, and play for a little bit. And as soon as we made our way upstairs to go get our seats, it started downpouring. But we're underneath an awning, so we're not getting wet. And then we climb up, and we're just underneath the overtop up in there, and on the right field side, and it starts downpouring again. And we're just we're probably 3 or 4 rows back from where seats are getting drenched, but we're all clear here. So we didn't have to go take shelter, take cover, deal with wet seats and whatnot. So it was a fun experience. But look, I mean, this is another team that we should be beating. They unloaded some of their players. Suarez went to Seattle. And it seemed like Arizona kind of made the move that they're going to fight with a lower budget. If they're going to make a postseason run. And so they made the change. And I think we need to come in and to capitalize on that and take advantage of it. As much as we have teams here, okay, that are looking to earn themselves a postseason opportunity, you have other teams on the outside looking to spoil. One of the things I was enjoying watching this week was the Milwaukee and Chicago series. They have it's a 4-game series, plus they're making up a rain delay earlier in the year, which means they're playing 5 games on top of whatever series they have next. Chicago currently leads that as they play today in their 5th and final game of this series. The Chicago leads 3-1. Now, this may not do anything for us with Chicago because Chicago's 5.5 lead in the wild card. It's going to be because they're focused on battling for the NL Central Division. But it's fun to see these teams now play each other and see how it could affect us. San Diego is home to the Giants. They had not so great of a week last week. They got swept by the Dodgers. They currently lead the series against the Giants 2-1. They played their 4th game here coming up later on today. The Nationals is another team because they hold that 3rd and final spot in the wild card as of today. They have a split series heading into the rubber game matchup with the Nationals later on this afternoon. So if you're looking at for today's game, I know they're earlier on. If you don't, that's fine. But they do play impact because, we could come down to a half a game back of the wild card if the Nationals could win. We could come 2.5 games back if the Giants could win. As we head into this series, as we're looking for the Reds and the Diamondbacks to lead, we throw in games to watch this series. So if you're looking for baseball, I know we got football going on, but if you're looking for baseball, we have the Giants in Milwaukee, where we kind of want the Giants to win. We have the Cubs over in Anaheim. I know maybe Angels could turn the thing around, beat the Cubs a little bit, lower that session out. The Dodgers and Padres, we already know what happened last weekend. The Mets are going to be a challenge. I know Atlanta ain't playing the best of their season this year, but don't underestimate a good NL East division game between the Mets and Atlanta. And I'm going to throw in on the backside because St. Louis is 5 games back, but see, they're only a series or 2 away from changing the whole dynamic picture of what this wild card looks like. They're over in Tampa Bay. They play a game tonight, tomorrow. They're off Saturday, and they play Sunday. They took care of Miami on the road, two games out of three, and they play tonight. So we have our work cut out for us. But going back to what I originally is claiming, and this is going to probably be the conversation for the next few weeks, right? As we learn if the Reds are going to make it or not. It's win games that you must win. It's, win the series that you must win. Arizona is a team that you must win. And then you can worry about the Dodgers, which look, we lost two out of three at home against the Dodgers. I would love to turn things around, but that momentum next week on the road against LA in Los Angeles is also going to probably play favor to how the momentum is heading back home against the Cardinals. Because it's not going to be a fun week if we get swept by the Dodgers. And it's definitely not going to be a fun week if we lose a series to Arizona. So there is a huge importance of how this next few days works out. It's going to be about momentum, how this team can play, fundamental baseball. And I want to say this last topic towards the end of the program because it's going to relate to both your Bengals and the Reds. But we got to honestly start taking a solid true understanding about what this city provides when it comes down to a professional sports team. And I'll explain more here in a little bit. That is your MLB update. Coming into the NFL preseason, week number 3 is among us. We have games going on tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, including a couple of games that I kind of want to pay attention to. And the big one's going to be the Colts and the Bengals. Saturday is the third and final preseason game. It's the first game at Paycor Stadium. It starts at 1 p.m. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. You'll have Daniel Jones, who was just announced as the Colts starting quarterback. And it looks like, from my understanding, that Jake Browning will get the start and that Joe Burrow will be sitting out the final game. Now, look, I think before we get too deep into this game, the Bengals beat the Washington Commanders on Monday. It was a good win, I think. I think it's a good win for the season. Yes, I know this is preseason, but that first win under a new team of a new year, it's always challenging as is. And so when you get a chance to finally get that W, you go out there and you say, hey, we got that under the belt. We know what to do next. Let's go out and get another one. And you'll have the opportunity this weekend. I think that the Bengals should beat the Colts this weekend. Build momentum. It's all about building momentum heading into the regular season. And boy, we do need it. We're going to leave the office stuff at the office for right now. We could come back next week. We could come back in 2 weeks and talk about that again. But the important thing is that we're winning. And the defense, they held their ground. And we were able to tackle on points with our second strings, which is important. Our defense, without a Trey Hendrickson, was able to stop. Now, the question is going to be, listen, we're only going to be able to be so good as the worst team we're facing. Because do you really believe that without a guy like Trey Hendrickson, we can put up a same opportunity or same point, differential to Monday's game compared to a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or Baltimore Ravens? And the answer is no. And when you look at the season for the Bengals this year and you look at all the, great teams that we're going to be facing, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Ravens, hell, even the Steelers are looking to progress and to get better. I don't know I don't think we have a good matchup. Everyone's calling it, and I have to agree, without Trey Hendrickson on that field, we have the worst defense in the league, and we can't survive off of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I'm sorry to say it. But I'm just going to refrain myself a little bit. So Daniel Jones is got the nod as a starting quarterback for the Colts this season. He's going to get the nod to start this game here on Saturday. So far this preseason, he's thrown for 245 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jake Browning, so far this off preseason, is 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I'm going to particularly watch Jake Browning and Desmond Ridder in Saturday's game. And the question that I have is if the Bengals will be carrying 3 quarterbacks onto the main roster come opening day. I don't see an issue. Why not? If we're going to have offensive line issues getting to the quarterback throughout the game, we just heard about one of our offensive line having season-ending surgery already, Volser or something like that, and I'm already like, we're not even in week 1, and we have maybe an 80% health on our offensive line, so it does scare me, and that's just something that the Bengals could just never can get right, and I don't. It doesn't help the cause, but does that warrant 3 quarterbacks? And why not should it be Desmond Ridder if he's the 3rd quarterback? I'm not ready to sell on Jake Browning yet. You want a 2nd string quarterback to fit the scheme of what Joe Burrow and the 1st string does, what Zach Taylor has in mind. That's kind of why we shoot for quarterbacks like those, But realistically, adding a Desmond Ridder also, who, is a homegrown, hometown supportive player, could never also hurt. So, like I said, I'm thinking the Bengals should be picking up a victory on this one. I'm excited to watch this one, and get ready into football season as preseason comes to an end. Games I will be watching out for, all kind of coming out on Saturdays, with the Rams and Browns. Rams right now, they're dealing with the Matthew Stafford injury. I think that's kind of is concerning. The Browns have 4 quarterbacks. It doesn't, they may go into the regular season with 4 quarterbacks, and that's kind of scary too. Seattle and Green Bay. Seattle with Sam Darnold, a better choice than Geno Smith. Packers, not really fazed by Jordan Love's injury. Really don't know how much it's going to impact their season. And then the Chargers and 49ers. So those are the kind of 4 big games that I'm kind of exclusively looking at for this season. I had a question here. I'm going to save until next week because it doesn't need to be a conversation. Just due to time restraints, I want to keep the ball rolling. But I do want to talk about this one topic here before we get you into the weekend. And the conversation realistically is that us fans in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, Indiana, wherever you are at, if you guys are supporting the Bengals or the Reds, the question is that we need to start asking ourselves and come to conclusion is the truth behind the major leagues here. The Bengals and the Reds. Let's just understand the truth. The truth of the matter is that we are a low budget team. We are a subpar team. We are a B+ at best, but we're not no A team. We're not no Kansas City Chiefs. We're not willing to spend all this extra money and get X, Y, and Z that can get us over to the promised lands. We invest into certain people. We hope that the low budget people could come back around and fill in the blanks. And we have always been that way. And, I think we need to take a cold, hard truth in what we have to offer. We're seeing this right now with the Trey Hendrickson situation. The bottom line is, without Trey Hendrickson, our defense is zero, is ranked 32. It's ranked 35 in a 32 league, team organization. That's how bad our defense is without Trey Hendrickson. And with Trey Hendrickson, he does so a lot. Yet the owners still hesitate to make a deal happen. They're pushing buttons. They're really being stingy. And to me, it's sad to even watch this happen, because we are dealing with a league right now in a division that we're being an afterthought now. So we went to a Super Bowl a few years ago. So we beat the Chiefs a few years ago. We're not better than the Chiefs. The only thing that we have in our franchise for the Bengals is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And how much can, and they're already, the conversations are already out there. And you know what? I don't even know why Joe or even Jamar even wants to be on the Bengals if they don't see the ownership want to improve the rest of this team. They were willing to take less money so that they can spread out their salary cap among everyone else, so that they could put a winning team together. Trey Hendrickson doesn't want a $50 million contract because he's the best pass rusher in the league. He knows he should be getting a $50 million contract like Myles Garrett, like TJ Watt. He's better than them. But he's not. He's willing to settle for a $20 million contract. All he's asking for is for some guaranteed money because he's at his prime, and you don't know what the future holds in the next 2 to 3 years. And the fact that the Bengals can't see that and can't be willing to, make a deal happen, you're willing to throw away your best defensive player because you want to stroke your own ego. And here's what my fear is. Okay, I honestly think that window of opportunity is long gone for the Bengals to win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, but Joe Burrow is only going to be the next Andy Dalton. You know what? Joe Burrow is better than Phillip Rivers, and he's not going to get. I would be surprised if he gets another Super Bowl. A lot of things will have to go his way. But it's not Joe Burrow's fault that that the Bengals ain't gonna get a Super Bowl. It's not Jamar Chase. It's not what they do offensively, even though they have their own issues still. It's because ownership can't complete a team. And if they do, it's a half-assed team. I'm sorry. Jamar Chase is another A.J. Brown. Or A.J. Green. Sorry. A.J. Green. Deserves to play for a winning team. Deserves to have his MVP moment against, with a winning team. Never going to happen. Because he chose to stay in Cincinnati, and they're nothing more than what it is. We put this expectation on Ellie De La Cruz to be this superstar of a shortstop in a competitive position that he's not even winning Gold Gloves. Keep Brian Hayes is, Ellie De La Cruz is not. And you know what? All the Cincinnati, in this leading up to the trade deadline, who did the Reds really get? Who? Key Brian Hayes. It's not a Freddie Freeman. Who? He's not a Manny Machado. When we needed bats. We needed right-handed, powerful hitters. We needed a couple outfielders. Miguel Andujar. We got Key Brian Hayes. I'm not saying that they're bad players, But they're not no Shohei Ohtani's. They're not no Giancarlo Stanton's. We're not making blockbuster deals. What the Reds do is they see interest and value in a Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz, and we want to build a low budget team around those two guys, and so we stick with that. The only reason why we got Key Brian Hayes is because he's under contract for the next 4 years, and an affordable price that is cuts half the price than what we pay for Jameer Candelario, who was a bust. But we hit our ceiling of success. We're only getting B at best players. And I getting no A players. You know, we had an A player on Luis Castillo. What did we do? Trade him. And who did we get for it? Players who left this organization or didn't turn out. Now, sure, Luis Castillo didn't go win a World Series yet for the Mariners, but it doesn't go without showing. I mean, he's making himself a career out there. Jonathan India, I think a player that I think we should have kept and reutilized. His defensive ability, just imagine what he was able to do at second base, at first base. When you're trying to move Spencer Steer, Christian Encarnacion is still down there in the minor leagues. You're telling me we got rid of Jonathan India so we can make room for guys like Matt McLean and Christian Encarnacion Strand? And yet, what are they putting up? You know, I understand that, you know, you surround yourself with talent. So you take some pressure off of Ellie De La Cruz. I'm not convinced that he's the only, that he needs to go hit 3 batting 350 with, you know, 30 home runs, 50 stolen bases, and all that stuff. No. I think the expectations have been high for him. I think he is a good player. I don't think he's the best player. He may be the best player for a Reds, but the best player for a Reds is still just a good player in the major leagues. I think we expect a lot out of Ellie De La Cruz, and because we don't see him lead this team to the promised lands, we say he's a bust, or we say we're disappointed in him. Realistically, it's what we surround him with. And unfortunately, we don't surround him with anything positive. Anything that's worth taking. The Padres picked up and signed Fernando Tatis. They went out and they grabbed Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, surrounding him with some key players. Along with the Jake Cronenworth. And so my point is that with this low budget team that we have, that ownership has established, and they've never moved on and they never will. And as long as we continue looking at it, they're only going to sell us enough to get us in seats. We went to a Super Bowl a few years ago. And all we have to show for it is a contract extension for 2, if not 3 players on the squad. All on offense, and it's not going to promise us anything. And in the meantime, all we're doing, and you know, it's convinced us as fans to get behind a team, to go out to these stadiums and to give the Bengals our money. Sure. I don't see why not. But we've been sitting here for the last 3 years believing that this is the year that we're going to the Super Bowl. But we have done nothing to improve our team from what it was 2 to 3 years ago. We haven't done anything to improve our team from what it was last season. So how can we go to the Super Bowl if we haven't made efforts into getting a better team than what we did last year? Because last year was not a good team, or else we would have won a Super Bowl. So we signed a few contracts to keep some players intact. Okay? What else? But yet we're still having a Trey Hendrickson, and he's not our solution on winning a Super Bowl. The Reds finally brought base fun back to baseball. Let's not forget, 3 years ago, the Castellinis took the social media and verbally just told us, listen, we don't care if we're good or bad. We don't care what we buy. Guess what? We're the only baseball team in your area. We're not going anywhere, and guess what? You're coming out to see us. And when they decided to bring up Ellie De La Cruz, and he had a couple of good runs, and we saw some promising, they sold us on Ellie De La Cruz. We bought into it, and now we're supporting the Reds again. And guess what? The Castellinis are right. Might as well be a Jerry Jones here in football too, because we went to a Super Bowl. The Bengals convinced us that this is a team that you need to get behind and support. We are going to win one. Yet we made zero efforts into getting any further than where we went. As a matter of fact, we've taken 10 steps backwards. I'm not saying it's not okay to support. I'm not saying it's not okay to have hopes. I want to see this team to succeed. I want to see the Bengals win a Super Bowl. I want to see the Reds go out and win a World Series. And in Major League Baseball, we have seen in the last decade teams that aren't the Dodgers, that aren't the Yankees, that don't have the unlimited pocketbooks of money to go out and accomplish these things, because we've seen the Cubs win a World Series. We've seen the Cleveland Guardians. We've seen the Kansas City Chiefs, who had typical average B+ players. And it was grit, it was fatigueness, it was the ability to be able to go out there each and every day, stay healthy, and play baseball. And so can the Reds do that? I think they have the team similar to what the Guardians, Royals, and even the Cubs have. But can they finish off? Because it doesn't happen all the time. The Bengals, they're a good team. But what have they done to improve themselves? They haven't done anything to improve themselves. And we still sit here. And a matter of fact, we're sitting here today, and the Kansas City Chiefs are still talked more than the Bengals. We're sitting here today, and there's no issues and there's no worries about the Baltimore Ravens. As a matter of fact, people are even saying that this could be a turnaround for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know what lies ahead of us. People are, you go, look, and this is just what I'm just taking off of. People are, when we get talked about on sports radios, on First Take, on The Herd, on any radio station outside the Cincinnati area, because we're blinded by the city and what we could provide, all I'm hearing is how people feel sorry for us, how people feel sorry for Joe Burrow and his and his skills and his greatness, and how he is stuck on a team that just will never get over the hump because ownership won't allow it. This is a mediocre ball club ran by ownerships. Not the players. The players, I think, are great. The players, I think, they have the ability to go the whole 9 yards. I think the coaching staff is solid. I like, Jack Taylor. I like Terry Francona. But the bottom line is that we are a lower market team. We are a lower budget team. We have such a rich history, yet we are always undervalued, overlooked, or an afterthought. No one can see us coming from a mile away, and we can even be at the gates of a championship, and still no one's going to take us seriously. Yet we have nothing to show for it. We have not improved. We have not gotten better in our skill set. We have not gotten better in our roster. And I'm not saying that we need to go out and we need to sign these multi-million-dollar mega deal contracts and make the next tight end, the highest paying player of the NFL. I'm not saying that, but we can make a little bit of an effort. Half these guys that we pick up half the time are either out of their primes, they're towards, they're known for what they have done. They're at the age where, they need to be out, they need to be squeezed out every last ounce that they have in the sport, and or they're injury prone. They're no names. They're past tense. And it's no disrespect to who they have. I mean, Key Brian Hayes got traded to the Reds, and what was he not capable of doing? His batting average was extremely low. He's not hitting the ball, but you know what? He had good defensive ability. Yeah, because we need a good defensive third baseman out there. We don't care about bats. No, we care about bats. It's been talked about all season long that we need bats, that we need people to be able to hit home runs. So Miguel Andujar is kind of making some of that up. Great, congratulations. But, realistic terms is that we are a low budget team. We are only going to be as good as what our ownerships allow us to provide. And it's the prime example of what we see here with Trey Hendrickson and the complications that we have, knowing that the issues are right there in our face, staring right back at us. And yet, Bengal fans and Reds fans want to sit here saying that we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Great mindset for you. Reality is that's not the case. You can't sit here. I knew somebody that every time I try to have a realistic conversation with him about the Bengals, just the truth, he could not fathom to take accountability as a fan to say that there is an issue with the Bengals, that the Bengals have a problem. And it's not, and he sat there and he refused to see that other teams were better than the Bengals. And yet he'd get so upset that the Bengals would lose, and he wouldn't take accountability. And so I'm over here and I'm just like, man, look, I like the Bengals. I want to support the Bengals, but they're making it very difficult when they make these decisions and they haven't done anything to improve themselves. And yet they want us to think that they are up there with the Philadelphia Eagles, or that they're up there with the Buffalo Bills, or they're up there with the Baltimore Ravens, who have always made an effort each and every year to improve their team just a little bit much. And you know what? Sure, some of that stuff is going to fail. You can't be perfect on anything. But at least those teams are making changes or attempting to fight. Pittsburgh is attempting to fight. Aaron Rodgers, I would have bypassed on Aaron Rodgers. But they're keeping Aaron Rodgers around. They're giving him new hope, thinking that they can get back to a postseason. And right now, they're favored to be placed second in the AFC North by plenty. This year, they favor a lot. I'm already seeing predictions come out. It's Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and then Cincinnati. And both teams may be a wild card contenders, but Pittsburgh's ahead of Cincinnati. And I know that we are better than that, but until we start making those efforts to be better than that, and I just don't see it. So I need Cincinnati fans, and I know this hurts. I need people to start realizing what type of organizations we have. Realize what they're willing to afford, what they're willing to let walk away, and that's good enough. And we just say, okay, well, it's okay. It's life. It happens. We'll make do with what we do. If that's okay with you, then we're just B style. We're just B grade level fans that accept B, maybe C at best. This is why we'll never win a World Series again. This is why we'll never win a Super Bowl again. And if we do, it's going to be because we have to pull something out of our ass to make that happen. Anyways, I hope everyone have themselves a wonderful weekend. I got a lot of things going on. A couple birthdays going on here. And I can't wait to get back next week, talk about how the Bengals did, how the Reds did. We'll look into a new week. We'll start doing some of our predictions with who's going to finish where in the NFL, Super Bowl predictions and all that stuff. And then, look, football season's right around the corner. Hopefully, we could get a Trey Hendrickson deal done before then. And then we start doing our picks every Thursday. So a lot more coming to you. Still, like I said, stay tuned with our channel. We have a lot of content yet to be posted that will be posted here shortly. So, hey, thank you for tuning in. Please sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And until next time, thank you guys for watching the TNC Sports Talk.